Hey family. So, I'm here to talk about discernment. And again, everything I share is a perspective, and it's not even my perspective, it's a perspective that I am entertaining and being entertained by in the moment. So, discernment. From one perspective, discernment is a paradox because we are in these human bodies with a limited mind. So, from one perspective, you cannot discern anything because all we have are thoughts and assumptions. We don't actually know anything. We just think we know, or we think we don't know. From another perspective, our mind is infinite and we are the universe and we are source and we are energy. So we can discern all of it and we know everything from another perspective. So from one perspective we are limited and our minds can only go so far, and from another perspective we are limitless. So let's talk about discernment in these perspectives. So from one perspective everything is true. From one perspective all truths are true. From one perspective, there's no such thing as one truth. So, from another perspective, everything is true. From another one, nothing is true. But what I want to share right now, besides the very quantum perspective on discernment, which I just felt like sharing, that discernment is a paradox. Because who is discerning? How can you even discern what discernment is? But in this moment, my focus and intention to translate and share this message is about discerning in a very grounded, practical way, and even calling it that is just a perspective. But I want to share from the perspective of we repeating and regurgitating information just because we saw it written or being spoken somewhere. So we do this with everything. We do this with astrology. We do this with history. We do this with the human body and biology. We do this with everything. So we read things, we study things, we hear people talk about certain things, and we just repeat it. And sometimes we don't discern what is actually true. So I can write a viral post saying that, I don't know, orange is amazing for your hair or something. And it goes viral and everyone shares it and everyone believes it and shares it, and it's like, oh yeah, this is so amazing. And you're not like truly like going within and doing your own research, whatever that research is, because if again you are researching outside, then you're just collating more information that other people wrote or thought about. So being very aware of the information that is out there. So in these times there's like a perspective of new age, what we call the new age. And again, with everything being true, and from another perspective, there is so much misinformation out there. So many people sharing so many perspectives. And being aware of what we are accepting and making our truth. Like, let's go there. So everyone is thinking and talking about the virus or whatever and things like that. So I have one beautiful question. If you have never heard about any virus on the television, or if no one told you about the virus, would you believe that there is a virus? Ta-da! Would you believe there was a virus if no one told you about it? Would you believe there was a virus if you haven't heard it on television or wherever else? So another perspective is the power of our minds manifesting things into reality, especially when we are all working together or thinking together the same thing, when we are all aiming energy in the same direction. So, from one perspective, the only virus that exists is fear, and we see how well it spreads and how fast it spreads, you know? But would you believe there was a virus if you haven't heard of it? What would you know if you hadn't learned anything? What would you know if you hadn't studied anything? We are told that the Earth is a round planet in the freaking Milky Way floating in space. We are told that the sun is this. We are told that this is that, this is that. We are told that we humans are this, are that. But what is true? And is there a truth? Who knows? I'm just sharing some perspectives, you know. So the power of our minds working together to believe the same thing, aiming energy in the same direction. So if a lot of us, many of us believe something and we aim our attention, our energy, our minds into something, we can actually probably from one perspective make it true. So meaning if a lot of us believe that there is a virus, that there is this thing, we are aiming energy, all of us, in the same direction. And because our minds are so powerful, and because we are creators, and because energy is like non-physical and then becomes physical, from one perspective we can create a virus if we all believe there is a fucking virus, you know, just as we can create anything else, you know. And this is where also where the world is right now. We all believe things so much that we actually create it, meaning it actually shows up in our physical realities. So being very aware of that, being very aware of what we accept as truth, you know? And again, don't accept anything I'm saying as truth, because from one perspective, I believe all that I'm saying, and from another perspective, I don't have any beliefs. I do not have any beliefs. All I have are these perspectives that I entertain and that I am entertained by in every moment. And from one perspective, this is like my speciality, you know, my speciality is paradoxes and multidimensional perspectives, meaning I see everything in infinite perspectives, which can be perceived for me as a major blessing and as a major difficulty, you know, because I see everything in so many perspectives. So again, don't take anything that I'm saying as truth because I am saying it, you know. This is exactly the point. The point is discerning for yourself, even knowing from another perspective that discernment is a paradox, and so is everything, you know. From one perspective, I am just a human, I am just energy having an experience. But even the perspective that I am having an experience is simply a perspective. The perception that there is you and there is me and I'm talking through this portal, which is my iPad, you know, and that we are humans living this human life, like all of these things are just perspectives, are just constructs, you know. What stays beyond all of it. And again, silence and noise are the same. In sound there is silence, and in silence there is sound. In all sounds there is all the silence, and in all the silence there are all the sounds. So again, I am being called, and this is just a perspective to say that I am being called, to share more and more like all of these perspectives. There is so much noise from one perspective out there, so much confusion from one perspective, so much misinformation, But again, all of this is simply a perspective. And all of it is freaking perfect, all of it is freaking perfect. And my judgment of what is good or bad or better or worse is simply my perspective, So I'm not here to say that anything is wrong or that anything is right, because again, who am I to say that what is wrong and what is right? I'm just a freaking human just like you, We are all the same from one perspective, and from another perspective we are all different. From one perspective we are separate, and from one perspective we are all the same. And everything is simply a perspective, a perception, a point of view, a way to see what is happening. And we see movement and the perception of movement and all of these things happening in the world. And from another perspective, we can see everything is stillness and nothing is ever happening. From one perspective, nothing is ever changing, and from another perspective, everything is always changing. The fractal, which is a fractal. So whether you zoom in or out, you see always the same image zooming in and out of itself. So this is fun, and I'm enjoying I'm enjoying just speaking, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know where this is going. I'm just fucking speaking, I am just speaking. And this is something I say all the time. I do not see myself as a teacher, as a guru, as a healer, as a light worker, whatever the fuck the story is. And again, there's nothing wrong with that perspective, because from another perspective, I can say, yes, maybe I am those things. But in my own truth, that is not my truth. It is not my truth to say I'm a healer, because I, from one perspective, don't see anything that needs to be healed. What I feel needs to be healed is just my own perspective of what is good and bad and better or worse. That is just my perspective, that there is something to heal. That's just a freaking perspective. And again, there's nothing wrong with any perspective. It's just a way of seeing life, of perceiving this experience that we're having, But for me, it makes no sense to call myself a teacher, because I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. I'm just saying something, I don't think I know anything more than anyone. I just think I'm a freaking human, just like anyone else. And I have these things that I feel like sharing sometimes, For a long time, I've been looking at everything from outside and just observing, and not really much speaking about it, but just going very within, and all everything I say. Every time we speak language is a paradox, because language cannot translate anything. We use language to speak and translate and explain things to each other. But as soon as you open your freaking mouth to say a freaking word that you think means freaking something, everything is gone. When you use a word As soon as you use language to describe or try to understand anything, it's gone. You cannot explain anything through language. And language is, again, there's nothing wrong with language. It's just a perspective, you know. Language is what tells me this is a glass and this is orange juice and I'm a human. But without language, what is there without language, you know? So, yeah, I will be sharing a lot because I cannot help it at this point. I cannot help but share. I cannot help but share. And I don't have to meditate or ground or be in my heart or all of these freaking stories to freaking share, you know? Oh, I let it all go. I let it all go. And I just share. And like everything is so divine and so everything simply is, you know? So why would I judge myself in any way or in anything? Why would I judge? And at the same time, judgment is just a part of it all, you know? There's nothing wrong with judgment because it simply is. There's nothing wrong with anything because it simply is. It's just our minds and our own perspective that say this is better than that and na 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 blah 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 blah, you know. Whew, what a life. What a life. What an experience. So something that just came to my mind. How can we ever reach enlightenment? Seriously, what the fuck is that? Reaching enlightenment. For me, from one perspective, reaching enlightenment is realizing you are enlightened. You know, you have always been enlightened. You have always been perfect. There was never anything wrong with you. There was never anything you needed to heal or do to obtain anything, you know. It's just noise. And again, just a perspective. And we say these things, and I'm doing it right now, where we say that is wrong or that is right or that perspective is just noise. That is also just a perspective. Me saying that a perspective is just noise, it's also just a perspective. Again, and I will keep repeating this over and over again, I feel that all I share is simply a perspective. And again, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying it. And from another perspective, I do know exactly what I'm saying. Yeah? So beautiful. What a crazy experience we are having. So beautiful. And calling it beautiful is also just a perspective. Calling it an experience is just a perspective. But it all makes sense, you know? It all makes sense from one perspective. It's all perfect. So, for example, when we say, let's talk about spirituality and like, dude, let me start with this one. I am not spiritual. I don't know what the fuck that concept is. I'm not spiritual. I'm fucking spirit. What the fuck does that mean? I'm fucking spiritual. Seriously, what the fuck does that mean? And again, nothing wrong with that. And this is just a perspective. Yes, so like someone like a spiritual teacher shares a perspective about something and then another one says no, that's completely wrong, this is the truth. And it's like there's nothing wrong with both of them, you know. There's nothing wrong with this perspective and there's nothing wrong with this and there's nothing wrong with this perspective saying that that perspective is wrong. There's nothing wrong with the arguments of, no, that's not true, this is what is true. No, 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 this is what is true, that's not true. Like, it's all part of it, you know? It's all part of the play, of the dance, of, I don't know, nature, life, energy, whatever you want to call it, however you perceive it. It simply is. And everything is always simply being. Everything is always simply being. You're not doing anything wrong. And you're not doing anything right. You're just being. And another perspective. This is so much fun. Another perspective. Who the fuck am I? I have no idea who the fuck I am. And the more I know I don't know at all, you know. And the more I know that I don't know, the more I actually know, you know. I don't know who I am. I know not who I am. They call me Madalena. I'm supposed to be a human, a woman. I'm supposed to be all of these things. Oh, I like this kind of music, this kind of food. I like to do this, I like to do that. This is what blah 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 blah. So many stories. And again, nothing wrong with the stories. They are just perspective. And just as it is the perspective of I know not who I am, I'm just fucking here. I'm just fucking here. So, again, discernment. Don't take my word for anything, because I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying it. From another perspective, I know exactly what I'm saying. So, play with it yourself, you know, and you are automatically, as soon as you receive any information or you tune into any information, you are already discerning or having your own perspective about the perspective that is being shared. Oh, I'm having such an amazing time right now. This is fun, like, to let go and just like, oh, I'm just gonna make a video, a fucking live video. I don't know what I'm gonna say, but I'm just gonna say something, you know? I'm just gonna blah, 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 blah. Let words come out of my mouth, thinking they have meaning and that what I'm saying means something and blah, 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 blah. So another perspective. Sometimes we know what we are doing. Let's talk about energy work or whatever, you know. From one perspective, we know what we are doing. Sometimes from another perspective, we don't need to know what we are doing. And I have realized from one perspective that sometimes when what I call my human doesn't know what she is doing or what she is going through, or why she is doing the things she is, or why she is talking and saying what she is. And again, perceiving myself as the human and then like a higher whatever energy perspective is also just a perspective. But like when I don't know at all what I'm doing, sometimes it's actually when I know the most what I am doing. You know, did you get that? What is awareness? What is awareness? We talk about, oh, the observer, be in the now, blah, 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 be in the now, observe, be aware. But even awareness, we can be aware of so many things at the same time. And awareness is also just a perspective. Ooh, this is a good one that I never thought about before. Ooh, this was a good one. Awareness is also simply perspective. So like oh, you meditate and you are aware of your body, you are aware of your thoughts, you are aware of your surroundings, whatever you are aware. But you can be aware from so many points of view. You can be aware of so many things in so many different ways. So even awareness is simply a perspective. And from one perspective, I already shared that my speciality is like multi-dimensional perspectives, meaning infinite perspectives about the same thing. And paradoxes, because for me, as soon as I perceive something, all I see are paradoxes, from one perspective. So, one of my, I think you will understand what I mean. And if you don't, so from one perspective, what I'm choosing to do right now in this lifetime, and all I share every time I use language, it's just a story, it's just a perspective. But I'm gonna go with it and keep sharing this perspective. So, from one perspective, my purpose and mission in this life, and please, this is just a story. What I'm sharing is just a story. From one perspective in this lifetime, my mission or purpose, this just sounds so funny sometimes to all of these stories. Blah, 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 blah. It just sounds like noise. But not like noise, not in a bad way, just a perspective. So from one perspective, what I'm choosing to do this lifetime is to I kind of observe and like I eat a lot of energy. So like I eat all of these perspectives. The ego is bad, the body, being present in the now, reprogramming your mind, completely letting go of the mind, tuning into the heart, grounding, blah blah blah. All of these perspectives. So for me, it's like I eat all of those perspectives. I read what people say about life, about what they call spirituality, and then I kind of make a soup inside of me, and then I let out my own perspective of that. That's what I do from one perspective. So, from one perspective, I have been studying spiritual teachings, all of these different, very different spiritual teachings for a long time. And what I do is I kind of, again, eat them, I make a soup out of them, and then I cook it, and then I give it back through my own perspective, which again is simply a perspective. So I'm not here to say that anything is wrong or anything is right. I'm just here to share that everything is simply a perspective. And again, a perspective that something is a perspective, even that is a perspective. A perspective that I am a human, having a human experience is a perspective. Everything is a perspective. And as soon as we use language, it's all gone. Language tries to translate or explain the untranslatable, the unexplainable, and it's fun to play with it, It's fun to call things names, to call this a phone and to call this a glass and, to call me a human and to call me a woman and like, it's fun. But it's just a perspective. It's just a story. It's just a story. Oh, I am enjoying this so much. And I think for now, I feel complete. And I will probably post this because this was fun. This was fun. And I will keep sharing perspectives, perspectives, just sharing perspectives all the time. Perspectives. And the kind of purpose of this video, or like the main, the center or focus or whatever, the perspective of this video was and is discernment. So again, don't take anything for truth just because you read it, just because you studied in school that this is how the human body works and this is how history happened and this is how astrology, astronomy, whatever it is. Just because you read it or you studied doesn't mean it's true. What is truth? That is discernment. Discernment is, but what is truth? Is there a truth? Does it matter? What is real? What is not real? Is there a difference? And discernment is also knowing that discernment itself is a paradox. Discernment itself is simply a perspective. So, babes, this is my vibe, and this is what I will be sharing again and again and again. And I feel like I will just keep saying the same thing over and over again in different ways, in different translations. But this is it. My message is everything is but a story. Everything is but a perspective. And again, there's nothing wrong with the story. There's nothing wrong with the perspective. It simply is. This is what I will be sharing. And whew, I am having a good time. So, yes, I don't know. I feel complete for now. Let's see if in 2 minutes I feel like recording again. Who the fuck knows? Who the fuck knows? I'm just in the flow, and even that is just a perspective. I love you, babes. Thank you for tuning in. I love you. I bless you. Even that is a story, but I bless you. Mwah.